The badge still worked. I swiped through the front door like any other Tuesday, coffee in one hand, diagnostic report in the other. My shoes echoed off the tile, same as they had for the past 7 years. Elevator up to the 4th floor. The final echelon stack report looked solid. Sensors stable, load balanced, no unexpected spikes. Another day, another crisis averted before breakfast. But when the doors opened, I saw them. Conference room, all glass. Half the damn floor could see inside. Warren Del Craftoft at the head of the table, flanked by 2 people I didn't recognize at first, until I clocked the HR badge and the lawyer face. My chest went cold, but I walked in anyway. Warren didn't waste a second. No good morning, no thanks for everything, just, your role is redundant, effective immediately. That was it. 10 words. I'd written longer logins. I didn't argue. I'd seen people beg, cry, throw chairs. It never made a dent. I nodded once, slow and steady. No eye contact, no scene. But my hand slid into my coat pocket. My fingers found the USB, not for storage, not for files, not for backups. This wasn't fire. This was truth. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Warren was still talking. Something about severance, a 2-week bridge, access being cut by 9 o'clock. HR nodded along like she was memorizing a script. Legal didn't say a word. I kept quiet, let them talk. All I could hear was the blood pounding in my ears. I wasn't stunned, not even angry yet, just focused, locked in like the moment before a switch flips. Because the second they killed my access, the system would bleed itself dry. I'd built the echelon protocol from nothing. The logic layer that stabilized mid-air transitions, the sensor net that detected fault spikes before they triggered, the micro failover array that rerouted power in under 10 milliseconds. All of it came from me. My hands, my sleepless nights. And I hadn't walked in blind. I knew this day might come. Warren closed his leather folder like this was just a quarterly review. Security will escort you to gather your things, he said. I looked at him for the first time, just for a second, then at the lawyer, then at HR. I stood up, slipped the USB into my coat pocket, and smiled. I don't need an escort. They didn't stop me. They couldn't. Because they had no idea what I just put in motion. 7 years earlier, I walked into Veltrix with a folding chair and a duffel bag. That was it. No team, no office, no direction. Just a hallway keycard and a whisper about some defense-adjacent R&D contract called Project Harrowmark. They stuck me in a supply closet, literally, shelves full of old toner and expired snacks. They cleared enough space for a desk and dropped a second-hand laptop that wheezed if you opened more than 2 tabs. I asked where the hardware was. They pointed to a half-built sensor array in a taped-up plastic bin. And still, I went to work. The prototype crashed every 5 minutes. Every time it did, I started from zero. Eventually, I duct-taped a tiny fan to the processor and stopped using the mouse because the lag made me want to punch drywall. I worked until my vision blurred, slept under the desk, and lived on instant noodles and coffee so strong it gave me chest pains. And when the system finally stabilized mid-air, when the logic chain I built stopped those violent energy flares and held the drone steady in its first vertical shift test, nobody said a word. I knew what I'd built, that core stabilization framework, the one that kept military drones from exploding during high-speed pivot maneuvers. That was me. The tech was worth hundreds of millions, maybe more once defense got their hands on it. A week after that test, a few engineers started showing up. They took over the open space down the hall. Real offices, full desks, lunch breaks. The Harrowmark budget kicked in, and suddenly I had teammates. Only I didn't. Because none of them knew what I'd done to get the thing working. Instead of giving me a team lead title, they gave me Levi Foster. Fresh out of an MBA program, sharp haircut, polished voice. I trained him for 2 weeks, taught him how the interface handled data bursts, how to calibrate feedback loops without triggering dampener failure, the small stuff that kept the thing from melting down. Then I started seeing my own reports show up under his email. He'd add one comment, maybe tweak a line, and send it up the chain with his name first. I didn't find out until one of the senior tech leads forwarded a project brief and called him the lead contributor. My job title changed, system specialist, then lead integrator. But the credit didn't. The patent filings didn't list contributors yet, but the internal review logs did. And I watched my name slowly disappear. They said it was about team optics, presentation. Levi's better in the room, one exec told me. But I was the one in the damn closet bleeding on the cables 3 months before Levi even walked in. I didn't say anything when Levi got the corner office. I just watched. He started showing up in tailored button-downs, never wrinkled, always with some new watch or belt like he'd just stepped out of a catalog. He'd walk through the lab with that half smile like he didn't need to understand what we were building, just needed to talk loud enough for people to believe he did. The first time I caught him editing my documentation, I almost snapped. He took my raw integration notes, stripped the timestamps, and replaced the author field with Team HeroMark Development. Team. As if this thing came from a committee. Meetings changed after that. I still got the invites, Outlook reminders, 10 a.m., this same conference room. But no one looked at me when the numbers came up. Levi ran the slide deck. I sat at the end of the table, same coffee, same seat, and said nothing because nobody asked. He'd present work I finished at 2 a.m. and say things like, "Our team refined the stabilization logic last week," and smile while nodding toward my end of the room. Not at me, just in my direction like I was scenery. Then Warren showed up. CEO, investor hire. Big words, no background. Wore suits like armor and shook hands like it hurt. I knew guys like him. All flash, no foundation. The kind that called engineers builders and thought it made them sound respectful. Warren walked through the lab on his first day with a camera crew from marketing. He stopped in front of the drone prototype, the one we'd finally gotten to hold stable through rapid shift sequences, and he said, "This system reflects the vision I had when we greenlit HeroMark." He didn't flinch when he said it, just smiled and kept walking. Levi was right behind him, nodding, repeating. Exactly. We're finally realizing that vision. I stood 10 feet away holding a soldering gun and a shredded cable, and for the first time in my life, I felt invisible in my own work. 3 days later, I requested co-inventor status on the provisional patent draft. I wrote the email carefully, concise, factual, no emotion. I included timestamps, architecture maps, and early test logs. I kept it professional. Just the facts. Warren didn't respond. Not even a received. Levi caught me in the hallway later that week. His smile was thinner than usual. "It's not the right time," he said, like it was a scheduling issue. "Once things are more finalized, we can revisit." "More finalized than the guy who built the system?" I asked. He shrugged. "It's just how it looks on paper right now." I clenched my jaw and stepped past him. I didn't trust myself to say anything else. I knew how this went. If I pushed, I'd get labeled difficult, and difficult didn't get credits. Difficult got replaced. That night, I opened the original logic map on my home machine. The one from the first working build, still watermarked with my initials. I stared at it for a long time. I wasn't going to fight them with noise. I'd been erased once, it wasn't going to happen again. I didn't scream, I didn't storm out. I opened a folder, then I called a lawyer. He wasn't flashy, no billboard ads or fake grins, just a quiet office above a used bookstore, and a handshake like he already knew how the whole story ended. His name was Carter Bell. Sharp eyes, steady voice, and not cheap. I paid in full. We met after hours, always off-site, no paper trails. I brought him everything. Every commit, schematic, test log, bug fix. I'd backed up every version of the Echelon logic net on a private server in encrypted chunks. The naming convention didn't match the Veltrix database. Nobody ever questioned it. We built a case quietly. Every conversation recorded, every date documented. Carter called it pre-litigation insulation. I called it loading the chamber. But I didn't just want to sue. I wanted insurance. So I did what I do best. I wrote code. At night, on my home rig, I built a subroutine buried in the heartbeat protocol. It monitored credential access. Nothing visible, no alerts. But if my admin ID ever got deactivated, not expired, not suspended, but cut, the system would recognize the signal and trigger a kill command. It wouldn't crash the network, wouldn't fry anything. It would just vanish. No logs, no traces, no core. Every stolen idea, gone in under 3 seconds. I tested it 6 times in sandbox mode. Carter reviewed it twice. It was legal, just inconvenient, and completely invisible unless you knew where to look, which nobody at Veltrix did. Still, I needed more than code, so I wrote up a performance review, standard format, quarterly accomplishments, development goals, that HR-approved nonsense. But halfway down, under personal initiatives, I embedded a legal declaration, sole architectural originator of the HarrowMark stabilization framework, responsible for complete logic design of echelon prototype iteration 1 through 3. Carter helped word it right. Legalese buried in filler, read like fluff if you skimmed it, which I knew Warren would. I dropped it on his desk for signature during Q3 reviews. He was running late, distracted, talking on the phone. "Looks fine?" I asked. He waved me off without even glancing. Yeah, leave it." 2 days later, it was signed and scanned into the official HR archive. 3 months before they fired me, Carter and I filed a provisional patent under my name alone. Direct submission, no corporate affiliation. We used the original date stamps from my archive. Perfectly timed. Veltrix never saw it coming. They thought they were cutting a loose end. But I wasn't dangling. I was armed. I left the glass conference room at 8:57 a.m. By 9:03, my access was gone. No warning, badge revoked. Admin privileges killed. Even my email kicked back errors. They pulled the trigger fast. Faster than I expected. But they did it wrong. By mid-morning, my phone buzzed with the confirmation. Patent submission accepted. My name, my design, my timestamp. I was across the street, watching the building from the cafe window, sipping burnt coffee in a cracked ceramic mug. Same place I used to eat lunch when I couldn't afford the cafeteria. I didn't flinch, didn't smile, just watched. Inside Veltrix, the system logs caught the signal. Unauthorized deactivation of admin ID A-171702. The embedded watchdog went live. Heartbeat flatlined. Trigger sequence executed. There was no crash, no dramatic alarm. Just a smooth, silent shutdown of every instance tied to my framework. Logic chains, deployment protocols, auto-calibration trees, energy-dampening maps. The system didn't fail. It disappeared. Nothing malicious. No virus, no worm. Just a clean, precise wipe of what never belonged to them in the first place. I gave Levi one warning, a month before the termination. Subject line, on access protocol, read carefully. Inside, if you terminate admin A1702 without clone bypass, the system defaults to 0 state. This is not recoverable. Handle with care. He read it, forwarded it to IT, labeled it low priority, never followed up. So at 9:19, Levi Foster stood in a server room surrounded by blank monitors and dead logs, holding a phone he didn't understand and cursing out engineers who hadn't written a line of the original code. Someone tried to restart the interface. It blinked twice and spit out a checksum error. No recovery partition, no admin bridge. The interface had been gutted clean. At 9:26, the CTO pinged legal. At 9:28, Warren called a level 1 emergency. By 9:32, they were on the line with IT security, asking if there had been a breach. No breach, they said. No intrusion, just loss. Quick pause. Where are you watching from today? By 9:45, the panic hit. They realized what I'd done, or at least what they thought I did. They still didn't know how. Not really. They thought they were victims of sabotage. But sabotage is messy, noisy. This was different. This was precision. A system that erased itself rather than serve the wrong owner. They started asking around. When was the last time the backup ran? Who was managing version control? Where were the logs? Why wasn't there an offline image? The answers were all the same. Levi signed off on centralization. Levi said distributed storage was inefficient. Levi disabled the dev mirrors 6 weeks ago. Levi didn't speak much after that. I heard later he sat in the data center for over an hour. Just standing there, hands in his pockets, staring at the black screen like it would blink first. It never did. And that's when I knew the most important part had worked. Not the wipe, not the patent, not even the erasure. The silence. They couldn't spin it. Couldn't blame a hacker or pin it on an intern. Couldn't reverse engineer what wasn't there. It wasn't stolen, it was just gone. By noon, my name was everywhere. The first headline hit Twitter at 10:12 a.m. Fired at 9:03. Patented at 9:17. By 10:30, it was trending. Someone leaked the video. Grainy security footage from the glass conference room. No audio at first, just Warren's deadpan face across from mine, HR frozen, legal blinking like he didn't belong there. Then a second clip surfaced, full sound, clear as day. Warren, your role is redundant, effective immediately. No cause, no warning, no respect. Just a corporate execution. Then came the filings, patent confirmation in my name, emails between me and Levi, the flagged one from a month ago with my warning in plain text. Reddit got it next. Hacker forums broke down the logic of my deletion routine like it was an art piece. TikTok turned it into a meme. Commentators started calling it the cleanest corporate kill ever done without a virus. Warren tried damage control, went on cable news with a prepared statement and glassy eyes. This appears to be a case of internal miscommunication. We're cooperating with... Didn't matter, because 30 seconds after the broadcast, a private audio recording dropped. Same boardroom, no edits. Just Warren's voice saying, "Your role is redundant. Done. No walking that back." By 11:15, 3 major outlets picked it up. By 11:40, someone found my old build notes with early timestamps. Carter must have released them. Sharp move. Proof in black and white that I built the system solo. And at exactly 12:06 p.m., Granite Holdings pulled $40 million from Veltrix. Gone in one line. We no longer align with Veltrix's core practices. Silence fell across the company like a blackout. No press releases, no interviews, just empty offices and locked LinkedIn profiles. Employees stopped posting. People deleted bios. Levi took his page offline completely. Around 1 p.m., I got an email. No subject, just a single draft in the body. Levi. It started like this. "I've had time to reflect." I didn't read the rest. Just hovered over the trash icon for a second. I thought maybe I'd forward it to Carter, just for documentation. But then I hit delete. Didn't even flinch. I didn't need it. What was he gonna say? "Sorry I stole your work? Sorry I smiled while you disappeared?" No apology could fix the years he spent polishing my designs and calling them his own. No words were worth anything now. Not from him. Silence had been my weapon for months. All those meetings I sat through while they stole credit and thought I didn't notice. All those skipped emails, quiet nods, half smiles. I let them think I was tired, or checked out, or stupid. I wasn't. I was waiting. No interviews, no comments, no excuses. Just the slow public rot of a company that thought it could cut its roots and still stand tall. The first call came in before sunset. Unknown number. Silicon Valley area. Code. VC firm wanting a conversation about strategic acquisition possibilities. Translation. We want to buy what we couldn't build. By the next morning, my inbox looked like a startup pitch deck exploded. Innovation labs, think tanks, military contractors, some legit, some desperate. All of them wanted access to the Echelon patent. They used phrases like joint ownership, co-development, and mutually beneficial oversight. Then Veltrix called. Not Warren, not Levi. Their head of business operations, some guy I'd never met, sent a tidy little PDF offering to buy the patent for $8 million, contingent on exclusive rights and a permanent NDA. They wanted full integration, source access, and me out of the way. I sent back one line, "Not for sale, not to you." Didn't even add a signature. 2 days later, a Quilch called. A mid-size firm, mostly defense tech, but quiet, not flashy. I knew the name, didn't know the people. The guy on the line was their founder, Elena Richter. She didn't waste time, said she'd read every patent claim, seen the old demos, and already knew Veltrix would circle like vultures. "Here's what we're offering," she said. CTO title, full creative control, zero interference. Patent stays in your name, we just build together. I didn't answer right away. I let her sit in the silence. Then I said, "Send it over." The contract came in the night. Clean terms, no backdoors, no surprise clauses. Carter reviewed the whole thing twice, said it was the first real offer he'd seen. Still, I made one more call. Veltrix's general counsel picked up on the second ring. He sounded tired. "This isn't a legal threat," I said. "This is closure." He didn't respond. "You had your chance," I told him. "You buried the work, discredited the builder, and tried to buy it back after you burned it to the ground." Still nothing. So I ended it. "I'm not chasing you. I'm erasing you." Then I hung up. The deal with Aquilch went live the following Monday. Their internal announcement called it the most significant strategic hire in the company's history. I didn't care about that part. What mattered was this: no more suits hovering behind my work, no more filters between my name and my blueprint, no more middlemen dressing up my sweat in PowerPoint slides. For the first time in years, I walked into a workspace where I wasn't a ghost. Someone finally saw the product, but more important, someone finally saw the producer. The offers kept coming, but I didn't sell out. I licensed carefully, one deal at a time, no bundles, no umbrellas. The first contract went to a defense tech firm out of Austin, smart team, no fluff. They got the core stability framework and nothing else. Full access to the drone logic, stripped of any dependencies tied to Echelon's early architecture, clean. The second was logistics, a mid-size firm in Pittsburgh working on autonomous cargo routes. They needed the predictive calibration logic for shifting weight loads mid-flight. I tuned it for their use case and handed it over under strict implementation parameters. The third was an energy company based in Colorado, focused on smart grid infrastructure. They got access to the signal dampening routines and nothing more. No cross-sharing, no relicensing, no redistribution. Each contract had one clause burned into it in bold red text. Under no circumstances shall any licensee engage in partnerships, consultation, or sub-licensing with Veltrix Technologies or any of its known affiliates. It was non-negotiable. I didn't explain it, didn't justify it. Just watched every lawyer on every call scroll down, pause, and ask, "This clause here, is it flexible?" Nope. One investor leaned forward during a Zoom call and said, "Is there room to soften the language? Maybe define affiliation a little more narrowly?" I said, "No." He tried again. "It might make broader partnerships easier if we—" I cut him off. "This isn't a product, it's a system, and parasites aren't allowed in." That was it. The clause stayed. The web started forming. 3 industries, 3 footholds, no overlap. I wasn't building a comeback. I was building a perimeter, a closed circuit, mine. Every strand woven to keep them out. I didn't run press, didn't sit for interviews, didn't go on podcasts or write threads. Let everyone else guess what I was doing. I wasn't chasing attention. I was building leverage, and then it happened. Granite Holdings doubled down with a public announcement confirming their full divestment. Due to ongoing ethical concerns, we are terminating our relationship with Veltrix Technologies effective immediately. All strategic investments have been reallocated. They didn't say my name. They didn't need to. The market knew. The industry knew. Hell, Veltrix knew. They didn't post a response. Just went dark again. Like maybe silence would undo the damage. But silence didn't protect them anymore. I watched it all unfold from my desk. Same one I'd used to write the early HaroMark code. Same cracked coffee mug sitting beside my monitor. No gloating, no reaction. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing the fall had already started. And I didn't even have to push. All I did was wait. I walked into Veltrix one last time. No badge, no escort. Just my boots on polished concrete and a coat pocket weighted with one small object. The front desk receptionist looked up and froze. She recognized me. I saw it in her eyes. That split second of panic where she didn't know whether to call security or stay silent. I didn't give her the chance to decide. I kept walking. The walls looked the same, clean, empty. No buzz in the air anymore. No engineers arguing in break rooms or interns wheeling in busted drones. Just cold hallways and silence. Past a few familiar faces. Most looked away. Some nodded, barely. More like reflex than respect. I didn't stop for any of them. Down the main corridor, I turned right into the old lab wing. The lights flickered once overhead. The wall was still there. The one where we mounted nameplates for lead engineers. I stopped in front of mine. The screws were still in the wall. The plate was gone. Of course it was. No plaque, no acknowledgement, not even a blank placeholder. Just 2 tiny holes where my name used to be. I reached into my coat and pulled out the original. Solid black, laser-etched, corners slightly scuffed from years of wear. I carried it with me the day they cut my badge. Never let it out of my sight. I lined it up and pressed it back into place. The adhesive clicked once. Done. No ceremony, no witness. Just correction. Before we keep going, drop a quick comment and let me know where you're watching from. I crossed the room and walked to my old desk. Same cracked monitor, same bent chair, same scratch in the surface from when I dropped a drone shell 2 years back. I pulled an empty USB, just a decoy from my pocket, and set it down in the center of the desk. Next to it, I placed a folded piece of paper. Nothing formal, just a single sentence handwritten in black ink. Next time, read what you sign. That was all. No rant, no threat, no warning, just the truth. I turned around, took one last look at the room they tried to erase me from, and walked out. Didn't run, didn't rush, walked, because this wasn't revenge, it was return. And I wanted them to feel it, not the noise, but the absence. I didn't look back when I left the building, didn't need to. Veltrix was behind me in every way that mattered. Now, I sat in my new office, top floor, north-facing windows. The skyline stretched wide in front of me. Clean glass, real light, no flicker from busted fluorescents. A view I never thought I'd earn. The desk was bare except for a keyboard, a black notebook, and a map on the wall behind me. No logos, no company name, just 3 glowing threads connecting red, blue, and green zones. Each one pulsing steady. 3 systems, 3 industries, all running code I built. Someone stopped by last week. Young guy from legal. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure if he should speak. "You ever think about suing Veltrix?" he asked. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. "No," I said. "They're already irrelevant." He didn't press it, just nodded and left. I went back to work. The patent was mine. The framework was active. And Veltrix. A name that used to mean something. Now just corporate dust. Nobody quoted them anymore. Nobody cited their research. People didn't even whisper their name in meetings. They faded without a fight. Because I didn't shout. I didn't leak revenge. I didn't flame them online or write tell-alls or take a single victory lap. I just outlasted them. I won without raising my voice. Just precision. Just truth. And that was enough. Before we wrap up, leave a comment. Would you have sued them anyway? The plate from my old desk, the one I reinstalled myself, I took it back after that visit. It sits on the shelf behind me now, not for memory, just as proof. Black steel, clean edges, name still sharp across the front. But the truth is, it doesn't matter anymore. Because for the first time since that first prototype powered on in a supply closet, I didn't need anyone to vouch for what I built. The world already knew.